When Avramo Greenbaum went through the Milchama here in Europe, he lost his entire family. And bitter with everything, he came to America and really, to a large degree, deliberately moved to a place as far away from any semblance of Judaism as he could, a certain city in Alabama. Not exactly a hotbed of Yiddishkeit. State. And he went to a city in Alabama. He married a Jewish woman, and he did that coincidentally, and they had 2 children. When his son Jeffrey turned 13, Avramo Greenbaum was no longer Avramo Greenbaum. The name, the identity, it wasn't there. It was Aaron Green. Aaron Green said, I'm not giving 13-year-old Jeffrey a bar mitzvah, but I have the means. I will buy him something OTC off the charts. He takes him to a large mall in the region. Jeffrey, 13, bar mitzvah, it's something, we don't keep it, but listen. And he takes him into an electronics store and says, whatever you want. The finest gadget, it's yours, Aaron Green tells his son. He looks around, but he's really, really not focused, because on the other side of the mall, maybe where those windows are beyond the door, is an antique store, and the kid can't stop. He's fixated, like in a trance with that store. Like the owner and Aaron Green are trying to tell the kid and their son, like, here, get the gift, happy bar mitzvah, let's get something. And the kid's like in a trance. I don't want anything from this store. I want to go to the antique store. The father apologizes to the owner. I'm sorry, I don't know what got into my kid. They go to the store. Jeffrey is still staring. He walks into the store, looks around, and finds a menorah and says, that's what I want for my bar mitzvah. You're kidding me? You could have had anything in the other store, like the latest gadgets, a menorah. And by the way, it wasn't a silver menorah. It wasn't anything. It was like a wooden menorah that was put together. That? Yeah, that. Okay, no problem. He goes over to the owner and says, I want to buy the menorah. It's not for sale. Not for sale? This is a store. You sell things. I do, but I don't sell that. You're not selling the menorah? He says, listen, maybe you don't understand. I'll offer you, couldn't believe the words got out of his mouth, I'll offer you $10,000 for the menorah. I'm not selling it. Let me tell you why. It was actually, I found out the history of it. It's not any old menorah. There was a man who constructed it during the war. Took him months to gather up the wood. Took him months to gather up the wood during the Holocaust. And he built this wooden menorah. It survived, but he didn't. That's a pretty big deal. So, if a menorah survived, but the man and his family didn't, I'm keeping the menorah. And the kid is like, Dad, I want that menorah. The father sweetens the pot by a few $1,000s, and I guess that did the trick, and the store owner said, okay, there it is, it's your menorah. They go home. It's his bar mitzvah. And what does he get? He gets the wooden menorah. My father says, I paid a mini fortune. Please be very careful with it and make sure I'm in. Fine. Kid goes upstairs, uses it for a few days. A couple days later, the parents are downstairs in the kitchen and they hear like a crash and then like a start to wail. They run upstairs. Jeffrey, what happened? The menorah had broke and it was fallen and shattered into pieces on the floor. That was about $15,000. The father did yell at his son. But then he realized, like, what am I yelling for? I can't take back what happened. So he says, listen, let me be a good father. He sits down on the floor with his son, 13-year-old Jeffrey. Let's try to put it back together again. The two of them try. It's absolutely hopeless. It won't go. It won't work. But he does notice, it's strange, that in one of the wooden pieces, it's somewhat split into two, and there's a piece of paper, parchment, almost like that, that's stuck in that menorah. He takes a utensil, pries it open, and at that point, he reads the note to himself. First, it starts by tears welling up in his eyes, Aaron Green, that is, and then he faints. And he's not revived so quickly. The family tries again and again to revive their father, Aaron Green. Finally, he regains his composure. They water the face. And he at that point says, let me read you the letter. And these are the words that were written on that rolled up parchment stuck in that wooden menorah. Obviously, we'll translate it into English. To whoever finds this menorah, I want you to know that I constructed this not knowing if I would ever have the opportunity to light it. Who knows if I'll ever live to see the day when it will ever be kindled. And even if I do have the privilege on one night of Hanukkah of lighting it, who says I will live to light it the second night? In all probability, going through the war, I will not. They'll murder us first. But if Providence brings the menorah to your hands, you who are reading this letter, promise me, and I mean promise me, you'll light it forever. Promise me you'll light it for me and for us, for my family, for those who gave their lives to serve the Ribbono Shel Olam. Just promise me if you find this note, you'll light it for my family. And at that point, before passing out, Aaron Green looks up at his family with voice choked, tears in his eyes, and says, the letter is signed by my father.